The scene begins with showing a timer in an object that is counting down. It turns out to be a part of the experiment that will make human to meet with the true judgment. The man is seen through the black light, unclearly reveals his face. He releases his energy, causing the violet spherical light behind him to grow and sucks the man into the light, and then shows tall buildings with flashing spotlights and stars in the sky. The scene then switches into a hall filled with a vast audience. Someone explains that 18 years ago, humanity faced a great disaster, where they stood against monstrous beasts from another dimension. Unfortunately, humans at that time were unarmed and didn't have sophisticated technology to fight them. And then, in the despair comes a hope. The audience feels bored hearing the long speech. The person on the stage is Sulby Lee, and the audiences are the closers, the people who are claimed to be able to fight the monstrous beasts from the other world. The scene then shows the beginning of the Blacklambs formation. The sky is so clear on that day. Sia Lee is seen walking along the path while playing a console game. He walks past a park where Sulby is there. Seha keeps playing his console game, and Sulby greets him and introduces herself as the leader of Blacklambs' team. It turns out that Seha will be her partner in the mission later. However, Seha doesn't respond to her. He keeps walking while playing his console. Ignored, Sulby tells him not to do that again, moreover, considering Blacklambs' team as a training facility. She reminds him that Blacklamb is the first team who defeated the dimensional monsters. However, Seiya states that it is the reason why he doesn't want to join Blacklambs, as he will only be working in union if he joins with Sulby. In fact, he states that he wants his life to go on normally. It is known that Seha is a phase power user that has the duty to protect humanity from the monster's attack. However, Seha still doesn't want to join the team, although Sulby has explained his duty. Instead, Seha suggests her to find another person to be her teammate because he is tired of being a closer. Hearing that, Sulby calls Seha a selfish and spoiled kid, and Seha goes on to push her. Returning back to Union, Sulby reports that from the day on she will be in charge of the Dimension Court in New Seoul. There she will be assisted by Kim Yoo-jung as the builder agent. Yoo-jung then introduces Lee Bitna from the Technology Division of Union, who later will help them in the training session. Sulby is gawking at her, seeing her gorgeous body. They go on to introduce themselves to each other. Sulby walks behind Bitna, where there is a device that can program a virtual reality. Bitna is impressed with her and doesn't guess that she will acknowledge the device she made. The device is different from the one in the academy. Moreover, Sulby and her team cannot use the device since she has just been rejected by her teammate. In fact, Seha has already had phase power since he was a child, making him not to have friends and traumatizing him. Thus, Yoo-jung gives in asking Seha to join Blacklambs. Sulby recalls her conversation with Seha earlier and concludes that this is the reason he didn't want to join her, and seemed he doesn't want to have power that many people desire due to the burden and the trauma. After that, Sulby proceeds to enter the programming room in the device. After activating the system, Sulby will be teleported to the other dimension. Sulby encourages herself to go to the other dimension by herself. She believes she can do it. In the other dimension, it is seen skyscrapers typical of Korea. Meanwhile in Union, the electricity suddenly stops working, and the network disconnects, causing they cannot connect to Sulby, which is already in another world. Sulby, on the other hand, feels like being a hologram. She is no longer able to communicate with Yoo-jung and Bitna in Union. Meanwhile in Union, Yoo-jung and Bitna are confused about the incident. After doing thorough analysis, Bitna concludes it is caused by dimensional monsters that ruined the power plant, but the report of wave history is seen as normal, and there are no closers around the site. Yoo-jung looks at Sulby's body, who is lying on the chair helplessly. She wants to catch up with her and solve the problem, but the distance between Union and the power plant is an hour away. For a moment, Yoo-jung thinks of Seha, and she finally calls him to ask his help to save this girl. Furthermore, Yoo-jung promises she will never call him again to join her team as closers if he wants to help her this time. Seha still doesn't give his answer, but suddenly someone has already been outside of his house. It turns out Yoo-jung has sent her agent to fetch him. Ran Sunwoo from the Transportation Division in Union is ready to carry out the duty. However, Seha assures to Yoo-jung that he only saving one's life and the rest is up to him, which she confirms on the line. Immediately, Agent Ran speeds up his motorbike, which making Seha feels like he is going to die. Seha forcefully stops midway and vomits badly. Ran points out the power plant that was destroyed by the monsters across the road. Seha and Ran go on to go there, and Seha proceeds to beat the monsters. He draws his sword, defeating the monster one by one in such not conducive situation where there is fire everywhere. His intention is to bring someone back alive whom he doesn't recall her name, who is trapped in the virtual reality program. The scene switches to the hospital. It is heard Bitna's passionate voice thanks the person who saved Sulbi's life. Meanwhile, Sulbi is still lying helplessly on the bed. She looks at the figure of the back of a man who is grabbed by Bitna and Yujung to persuade him to join Blacklambs' team. The man seems to negotiate with them that he can quit whenever he pleases if he joins the team. It turns out the man is Seha. He seems to feel hard to refuse their request, as in fact he is looking at Bitna in awe. Yujung and Bitna then walk towards Sulbi, who has gained her senses. They apologize to her and explain what happened, including the one who saved her, none other than Seha. Yujun also suggests her to thank him as he agreed to join the team. Finally, Sulbi and Seha are paired in one team and will get their program material in union. However, they have started arguing because of Seha, who is busy playing the game, getting Yujung a headache. At night, Sulbi wakes up from her nightmare. There is a glimpse of her childhood. She was playing a violin, but she was getting trapped in a dark black light and she awakened. She looks frightened and traumatized. She then looks at the news reporting about a mysterious explosion in Gangnam district that causing casualties. It is reported that 8 people died in an accident. Sulbi lives in a high-floor apartment so that she can breathe in the fresh air when she wakes up. The police are currently investigating the accident, and several injured people have been taken to the hospital to get treated. They state they don't remember as it happened quickly. Many people guess the explosion was caused by the dimensional monsters that got into the city. They hope all related parties to start their action soon. It makes Sulbi not focus on the next news. She thinks about many things and the mysterious explosion just now. She feels restless by only staying at her apartment, thus she decides to go to Union. Arriving at the Union, she proceeds to get into the control room. There she finds Seha, who is sitting casually, and also Bitna and Yujung, who are looking at the monitors. The training program that Bitna created has been fixed and is able to be used. Yujung finds this program adapts faster when it is used to train against the monsters. Sulbi finds she doesn't know the person in the monitor. Yujung mentions she is Siu Yuri. Yuri is the winner of the National Kendo Championship before her phase power rises, and her phase power is currently active until 1 year. In the monitor, Yuri is seen using her shooting skill to fight the monsters. She is seen hitting the target, making Sulbi amazed with her even more as she thinks there is no one as skilled as Yuri in the Union. She thinks Yuri would definitely become a reliable member of her team. Finishing her training program, Yuri wakes up and finds Seha. She goes on to greet him, and she also approaches and compliments Sulbi perfume. Because Yuri has finished her training, Yujin allows her to go home, but before that, she compliments her skill. Yuri hopes she can be an official agent and that she will get facilities such as a house and private car like what civil servants get. Now it is Sulbi's turn to get a training session, which will be continued by Seha later. Arriving at the building used to carry out the training, Sulbi immediately uses her phase power. Yujin comments that her control power is back. Yujin asks Sulbi what she thinks about Yuri as a friend. Sulbi is stunned and doesn't give her answer. After finishing her training, she still thinks of Yujung's question earlier. On the way home, Sulbi spots Yuri, who walks out of a store while bringing a bag of groceries. Sulbi approaches and helps her. Yuri then tells her it is better to live in Union. Moreover, she is after an official agent with promising facilities. Furthermore, they also talk about the skill they have by using phase power. In fact, Yuri wanted to see Sulbi's training session, but she had to prepare food for her brothers. Yuri then offers Sulbi some samgyeopsal. Sulbi agrees and goes to her home. Arriving at her home, Sulbi sees pretty twin boys playing. They go on to greet Yuri happily. Yuri tells them to greet Sulbi. Yuri then asks Sulbi to take care of her brothers while she is preparing the food. Sulbi feels a little bit awkward, moreover, looking at the twins' expression when seeing her. She looks around the house and spots a family picture on the wall. There are the 3 of them with their parents, who still look young. She finds their house is quite messy with the twins' toys. Soon, the twins run around the house, ignoring Sulbi, while Yuri is washing the vegetables. Seeing them running around the house, Yuri yells at them. Suddenly, one of them tripped and almost fell on the floor. Seeing that, Sulbi uses her phase power to save him, making him floating inches away from the floor. She also makes the toys and the other boy floating in the air. Yuri is surprised with her power, but it stops when the kids nearly open her necklace. She accidentally stops her power and makes the kids and the toys fall on the floor, and she excuses herself. The next day, Sulbi and Yuri are seen getting closer. and makes Seha wondering since when they are that close to each other, and he hopes to get a new male member to be his friend. The scene switches to a bank. A man with gray hair is surprised while looking at her bank account. He is seen trying to approach the teller, which causes him to get secured by the security officer. In Union, Yujin goes to talk to the chief as he sends the Blacklambs team to fight the dimensional monsters when they can't fully control their power. However, the chief brushes it off, stating there is a great threat ahead, more dangerous than what she thinks, and the Union is lack of people. Yujin cannot bear it and feels reluctant to send them off to Jiangnan. The chief then assures Yujin, stating that they will be accompanied by her old friend who can back them up. He is experienced in dimensional war and is respected. The chief feels something dangerous is going to happen in Seoul. In the male training center, the men seem to practice volleyball. Some of them are taking a break. Meanwhile, Seha and Han are playing console games. Seha turns to look at the window. He sees Yuri is watching them through the window. It turns out it continues with the Blacklambs team training the other day. In their last training, Yuri's skill seems to decrease and become stiff. She even gains her sense in the real world in the middle of training, which makes Bitna have to reset the program. Bitna thinks she practices hard, which drains her energy and decreases her performance. This incident is also noticed by Jay, who suddenly enters the control room. Jay is the man who disturbed the bank officer. Bitna is surprised to find him in the room. Since she doesn't know him, she wonders why a stranger can get into the room suddenly. Bitna calls him uncle, but he refuses. Jay seems to watch Sulbi and friends training closely. In fact, Yuri's performance decreased because she was disqualified from the kendo tournament for no reason. Thus, after finishing practicing volley, Seha approaches Yuri and cheers her on so that she doesn't miss the next kendo competition. Yuri tells Seha she had a headache after getting hit on the head. Moreover, she asks him what he felt after finding out he is chosen as a closer. Seha tells her he doesn't quite remember as he was still a child at that time. He then shows her a little of his phase power with a branch in his hand that is suddenly split into pieces. Furthermore, he states that the more he likes something, he will get bored of it. Hearing it, Yuri excuses herself and leaves him. Just then, Jay approaches Seha, surprising him. In fact, Seha doesn't know him, but Jay suggests Seha to help Yuri as his friend to solve her problem. However, Seha doesn't know how to help her. Thus, Jay suggests him to invite her to practice kendo together. He states it will be the best solution for her problem. Once again, Jay advises Seha to help his friends when they are in problem and leaves him alone in the park. At his room, Seha is busy with his console, playing his favorite game. Suddenly, he recalls a glimpse of his childhood. At that time, he was wearing sportswear while bringing a ball. In his classroom, his friends called him dangerous, which made him traumatized. Later that night, Seha decides to play a game in the control room in Yunyan and accompany Bitna, who is busy setting up a new program, and Seha keeps playing his game. The following day at the academy, Seha approaches Yuri, who is looking at kendo preparation seriously. Yuri is surprised to find him there and excuses him that she is just passing by and not intending to look at the preparation. Even so, Seha is aware that it is just her excuse, and he invites her to go with him. They are heading to a dark room that is suddenly set up like the kendo training site. They also wear the clothes they used to practice kendo. Yuri is surprised to see the surroundings altered. She doesn't aware what Seha is up to as he only told Yuri to prepare her best. Seeing Yuri is puzzled, Bitna, as the programmer explains, they are currently in training mode in Kendo Pavilion, so that they can enjoy the training together. However, Seha is not sure if his closer's skill has been trained well to fight against Yuri. It is seen that Yuri is a quite great match to Seha. They are seen attacking one another. Yuri is also surprised with Seha's consecutive attacks. Seha draws his sword that emits blue light, while Yuri's sword emits red light. Both of them are seen giving their best to defeat one another. Clash of lights from their swords indicates that they refuse to give in. Yuri finds this training exciting. In the control room, Sulbi is seen smiling while looking at them. Moreover, looking at Yuri's kendo skill, she doesn't fight him back when Seo launches an attack on her. Instead, she gives Seha some time and waits for the right moment, and she attacks right on him and makes his sword release from his hand, and she hits his head. Meanwhile, Seha is stunned in disbelief that Yuri has that skill and asks her to redo the match, until Yuri finally agrees to fight on the second round. Meanwhile, in the control room, Uncle Jie is coming to watch Yuri and Seida's training. Much to their surprise, Yujung introduces Jade to them and mentions that Jade will be taking part in the team. Yuri and Seia, who has just finished their training, is surprised with the news. Moreover, Jay is the person who suggested Seiya to carry out the kendo practice. Meanwhile, Ji feels a bit awkward as he is teamed up with younger people. Uncle Jay then tries to get Yujung's attention as if poisoned after drinking his drink, and the neutralizer is to drink juice with her. He intends to get Yujung's attention and agrees to go with him. Even so, Yujung seems to notice his intention and doesn't buy it. Seiya and the others look at him in disbelief. Yuri then asks him if he will train them, but Jay doesn't answer her. They seem to get ready with his unreasonable act when he joins the team. In the classroom, Sulbi becomes the spotlight of the other students as the transfer student. Some say about her physical appearance, such as her attractive round blue eyes and her bright pink hair that makes her vibrant. Moreover, they talk about her, who graduated from Union College. But it doesn't affect Seiya, as he already knows how she is as they are teammates. Seiya is busy with his gadget and his game, while his friend behind him really admires Sulbi. A message in a chat group informs them they will be carrying out a practice this afternoon in the site which used to be the supermarket. This time, they won't practice in a virtual reality program, but in a real site. Sulbi tells Seiya about this, and Yuri cannot wait to use a real gun. In the afternoon, Seiya, Sulbi, and Yuri gather in the training site, where it used to be the supermarket. It is now abandoned and not in good condition. Yuri and Seiya have been there when they were children, and Sulbi wonders what kind of place back then. Uncle G's voice suddenly heard all over the building, surprising them. It turns out Uncle G has arrived before them and is now upstairs. Uncle G explains the building used to be a shopping center that was attacked by monsters so that it changed its function into a training ground. The three of them are suggested to adjust their closer's power sensor in every corner of the room. They find the corridors are dark, and there are abandoned empty stores. The training this time is intended to test if the team is ready to take the final test for the real battle, and Uncle Jay is in charge of the trainer and at the same time the examiner of the three of them. They are surprised to hear his explanation. Sulbi states she doesn't know that there is a particular test, while Seiya is holding his sword. Uncle Jay explains the test is quite easy. They just need to catch him in 5 minutes and they win. It is seen that the three of them are on the ground floor and Uncle Jay is on the high floor. They can work together, but he can attack them at the last minute. Seiya wants to catch him as soon as possible and sends him off to his place. Yuri also uses her power to beat him. Sulbi tries to tell them about the strategy, but they have advanced to fight Uncle Jay. They proceed to head upstairs and Seiya slashes his sword. Yuri uses her gun to shoot at Uncle Jay, and Sulbi attacks him using her fireballs. However, Uncle G moves in a flash of lightning that makes them tricked. Seiya and Yuri attack him from another direction, but to their surprise, Uncle G still manages to dodge it. Seiya sets up the plan so they can beat Uncle J, and they keep attacking him. However, they are still unable to catch Uncle J until finally 1 minute is left, and as the agreement, Uncle G will attack them. In a flash of lightning, Uncle G moves behind the three of them and snatches their weapons. He calls them fools who don't have brains because none of them can defeat him. Uncle G isn't sure with their skill. Moreover, they are going to take part in the real battle fighting against the monsters, which surely will be more dangerous than him. Sulbi gets angry and scolds Seiya for not listening to her instruction. Furthermore, Sulbi also scolds Yuri, who was reckless in taking action. Sulbi then starts making plans and decides Seiya will be attacking Uncle G's arms, while Yuri will protect him from behind. Unfortunately, it still doesn't work as Uncle G still manages to dodge their attack. Furthermore, Uncle G mocks them as their plan didn't give a good result. He manages to block Seiya's attack, which ends up kicking him and makes him fall to the ground floor and hit Sulbi. They stare at each other for a moment, but Sulbi uses her power to send Seiya away from her. Meanwhile, Yuri is fighting Uncle G alone, and they proceed to look for Yuri to help her. While running, Sulbi tells Seiya to help Yuri to trick Uncle J. Unfortunately, Uncle G notices and dodges it, causing Seiya to fall. From afar, Sulbi launches her attack, but her move can be read clearly by Uncle J. Moreover, the joint attack between Sulbi and Yuri can also be blocked by Uncle J. Uncle J then releases a large fireball which he kicks and hits the three of them. The fireball is heading towards them. Luckily, they still manage to escape. Sulbi doesn't listen to Yuri as she is annoyed with their communication and their skills, while Uncle G finds the training this time is wasting time if they don't use it to measure their skills. Moreover, Uncle G gives them advice related to their skills and their attacks, including Sulbi. Annoyed with Uncle G's words that seem underestimating them, Sulbi finally speaks up. Uncle G replies to her, commenting she is too bossy, and that she considers Seha and Yuri as her servants whom she can order as she pleases. Furthermore, Uncle J finds Sulby's instruction is still not proper, and she cannot examine the condition, which position needs an attack and who is in charge for the attack. He states that Sulby seems to concern on defeating her enemy without taking a brief look at her friend's skill at position. In other words, Sulby tries to be a good captain without knowing her team and her friend's weakness and strength. Hearing Uncle J's explanation, Seiya grabs his sword and gets ready to leave, while Yuri turns her back to Sulby and Uncle J comments they are too early to join the battle and that they need to practice more. Sulby then apologizes to them for being recalcitrant and obsessed about the result of the test, that forgetting they must fight together as a team. Uncle J is surprised to hear her apology and doesn't expect she can be that mature. Not far from them, a monster sensor suddenly rings. The monster is flying along the corridor and is detected by the alarm sensor. Uncle J and 3 closers are surprised to find a dimensional monster has appeared in their training ground. Uncle J suggests they escape, but Sulby refutes him, stating that it is a B-rank monster, and the boss that opened the gate can summon a group of lower-rank dimensional monsters through the gate. She is afraid that the place will be filled with monsters if they are not stopped. She states he has a plan, as she had practiced and had been advised that Seha and Yuri will be able to divert the monster's attention. Meanwhile, Sulby and Uncle J will get out of the building and lure the monster to leave the building. Therefore, they will finish it off when it is surrounded. Everyone understands and agrees with her plan. Seha begins lurking the monster and Yuri diverts its attention as it is about to attack Seha. Seha and Yuri launch their attack and the monster fights them back. They seem to attack one another with no one wants to give up. Uncle J, Seha and Yuri lead the monster to Sulby. Sulby releases her power, taking out a bus within it, and hits the monster with it and defeats the monster. Everyone is amazed with her skill, and Uncle J even compliments her. He states it is beyond his expectation as it is their first real battle. Meanwhile, Yujung expresses her worry towards the 3 of them. She is not really sure whether to send them off to the battle in Jiangnan to face the enemies. On the contrary, Uncle J disagrees with her, as he is certain that Blacklambs team is led by a decent person. In the classroom, Yuri is excited, showing their new uniform they will be wearing. It means they have officially become agents. Yuri feels so excited, more than her 2 friends. Besides telling Seha, she also goes to inform Sulby about that. Furthermore, she also celebrates it by taking pictures with Seha and Sulby. One of their classmates, who secretly admires Sulby, helped them take the picture. The scene then shows an aircraft between the clouds. There is a pretty girl named Detective Misteltine who is looking at her tab. She looks at the news in the Seoul media about the police who are clearing the case of a monster fight. She stretches her muscles, cannot wait to meet her team as this is her first moment. Misteltine has been waiting for this moment to come for so long. The sky is clearly blue, looking beautiful with the reflection of the seawater below. Song Yini is seen secretly walking behind Kai Yuman, who is currently setting up a robot they will be using to fight the monsters, and startles him from behind. Kai Yuman needs to concentrate, and it takes time to make sure the program runs accordingly. Meanwhile, the Blacklambs team is fussed with Sulby, who warns Seha, who often plays games, while Seha comments they don't have a task this time. Even so, Sulby, as the captain of the team, wants her team to stand by if anything happens. Meanwhile, Song Yuni becomes their support team and prepares the duty for the new members. Finally, they have finished their program, and Yuni calls her team to take the tool into the helicopter that later will be sent to Union. Yuni also tells Youngmin to clean himself and have a rest. She also apologizes to the Blacklambs for making them wait, as she is preparing a new program and some devices with Youngmin. Fortunately, they understand about that, and even Yuri and Sulby offer to help them if they need it. Just then, Yuni receives information that a crowd of monsters is coming through the subway. Yuni then offers Sulby to check the matter. Yujun is also at the site and tells them to clear the matter. Sulby calls her friends, and Seha and Yuri then go on to help her check the location. Seha is seen still playing his game. Sulby tells him to go to check the subway, but he keeps playing the game. Thus, Sulby uses her power and takes the game console from his hand. Seha feels sad as he has not saved the game he is currently playing. Seha proceeds to go to check the subway where the monsters are informed spotted. He jumps here and there, floating above the traffic jams of Seoul. It turns out the traffic is caused by the special forces who are securing the location of the subway. The citizens feel annoyed at the traffic jam because it automatically disrupts their activities. Seha is trying to find the location they mean while jumping in the air. There he spots someone on top of a building. Seiya goes on to make sure the man can go down to save himself. The man is seen wearing black suit and red scarf, and his face is covered in black cloth. The man doesn't listen to Seiya, but he calls out his name. Seiya wonders how he can recognize him. The man tells him that his master mentioned his name. Meanwhile, Seiya doesn't know who the man is. Suddenly, the man immediately releases his power to assault Seiya. Surprised by the man's sudden attack, Seiya tries to block his attack but ends up being pushed back. The man attacks him again from everywhere. Seiya then draws his sword and tries to fight him back. It turns out the man is able to disappear and move to another place in a flash of lightning. Seiya's attacks don't seem to hit the man as he always manages to block the attack. The man is more skilled and experienced than Seiya. He then releases his power, emitting violet aura and causing Seiya to float in the air and be sucked in his energy circle. This makes Seiya unable to move freely. Elsewhere, Yuri and Yujung get ready to fly with their helicopter, while the others are waiting for Lai Seiya to return. Sulbi assumes Seiya is currently playing his game. Finally, Uncle Jay, Sulbi, and Yuri decide to look for Seiya. They look through the traffic jams towards the subway, but they cannot find Seiya everywhere. Sulbi then tries to call Seiya, but she doesn't get the answer. Seiya actually didn't respond to Sulbi as he was cornered. Coincidentally, his enemy hears that, and he gets ready to welcome them. On the line, Sulbi hears Seiya's scream, and they proceed to get near to the location. Seeing they are coming, the man stops them with his magic wind. Apart from that, he opens the dimensional gate and summons a giant monster to ambush them. It is a huge and aggressive monster called Murek. Uncle Jay is shocked to find Murek get out of the dimensional gate. Sulbi immediately prepares a strategy to spread the attack. Yujung and Yuri have heard the news, and they turn to find the location and help the Blacklambs team. They also contact the central office to ask for help. Meanwhile, Uncle Jay and Sulbi launch their attack on the monster. Yuri tries to help Sulbi by diverting its attention from above. As the monster is chasing Yuri, Uncle Jay attacks the monster from behind. He uses his power to attack it from any direction. He finds the monster is too tough to defeat. Sulbi and Yuri give their hands to attack the monster. From the helicopter, Yujung and Yuri are seen watching them. They find it is quite messy with only 3 people of Blacklambs' team fighting the giant monster. They wonder where Lai Seiya is as Sulbi was eager to find Seiya. Finally, they spot Lai Seiya, who is taken hostage of the bandaged man. Yuri, as the leader of the team and part of Union management, asks to get near the top of the building. He instructs the Union team to shoot the target without hurting Lai Seiya. The man is aware of their presence and puts up a barrier to defend himself. Sulbi, Yuri, and Uncle Jay look at the helicopter on top of the building and find Yuri and Yujung are coming to help them. Meanwhile, Miss Deltine, who is busy with her gadget in the aircraft, suddenly smells the presence of a monster, and she begins to disembark off the plane and makes the guards panic. Sulbi, Yuri, and Uncle Jay turn to help the Union team in the helicopter, who is fighting the bandaged man. But Merrick suddenly resurrects and surprises them. Sulbi, who is right in front of Merrick, gets attacked. Although they have worked together, they still fail to bring it down, until Detective Miss Deltine steps in and hits the monster right on its head. Sulbi, Yuri, and Uncle Jay are surprised to see this. The same goes to the bandaged man, who finds Lai Seiya's friends are coming to help him. He then disappears, escaping from them. It causes Seiya to be spared from his power and falls off. Returning to Union, Yujung starts investigating their enemy. They try to find out about Murek and the identity of the bandaged man. They also try to find his power, his countermeasure, and where he came from. They can see clearly the man through the screen, but they cannot find his identity on the database. It is certain that the man summoned Murek to this world to help him attacking Seiya and the team. Detective Miss Deltine enters the room and greets Yujung and whispers something about the previous battle that makes Yujung surprised. It is not revealed what she said to Yujung, but it surely makes Yujung's facial expression changed. Everyone has left except Yujung and Uncle Jay, who are still in the room. Uncle Jay criticizes many things about Union, including the number of strongholds it has. Yujung blames herself for the earlier incident. She feels guilty for not being able to take care of the kids, but Uncle Jay tries to calm her and tells her to take care of herself. It is seen the special forces are analyzing Murek's existence, and they find central crossroads where Murek is likely to appear. Apart from that, the Union has also sent several forces to stand guard. They have also set up several dimensional monster detectors. This is what made Yujung sad, as the Blacklambs team is actually responsible for protecting the devices. Detective Mi has superb power and weapons, which is similar to Closer's. Yujung proceeds to explain her plan, where Merrick probably will make an appearance, and who will help them in the battle. Sulbi seems to be worried about the current condition, but Yujung tries to calm her. Yujung goes on to assure them to follow the instructions. However, Seiya stands up against Yujung. He comments about the bandaged man who summoned Merrick, and that Yujung failed to find him. Uncle Ji tries to calm Seiya and defends Yujung, stating she must have a plan. However, Seiya finds he is not satisfied with them and leaves. Yujung stands by in front of the monitors and finds out several monsters are detected at crowded points. Yujung and the 4 Blacklambs team are connected on the same line, so that Yujung can inform them what happens in the town. Everyone stands guard in their position, and Seiya is seen playing a game, and does not really want to take part in their mission. Uncle Ji understands his feelings and tries to cheer him up, telling him that by defeating Merrick, they have a higher chance to find the bandaged man. Everyone encourages him to join them in the mission to get stronger and give them more chances to bring it down. Finally, Seiya grabs his sword, putting away his game console, and stands up. He finally decides to join them in the mission. Apart from that, Detective Mi also comes to help them. Suddenly, there is notification telling them there is a dimensional monster coming out of the dimensional gate. Everyone stands guard on their position and a bigger monster appears from the gate. Detective Mi is the first agent to attack the monster. She uses her weapon, Holy Gun, to strike it. In the control room, Yujung adjusts the suppressors to maximum output, causing Merrick not to be able to come out and retreat, and the dimensional gate is managed to be neutralized. However, it is still too early to feel relieved as their area are still monitored in the red zone. Suddenly, a dimensional gate appears and the bandaged man appears in front of Uncle Ji. Uncle Ji notices it is the bandaged man from before and gets ready to attack. His attack clashes with the man's attack. Unfortunately, the man overpowers him and sends him backwards, hitting the suppressor and causing him to lose contact with Yujung. Meanwhile, everyone is worried about him as they don't get a response from him. After that, the bandaged man appears before Yuri and outmatches her. After that, he also appears before Sulbi and attacks her. Sulbi, who is ready to fight him, still cannot win against him. Finally, the man appears before Seiya. Seiya feels his presence and begins to fight him with his sword, but the man is too strong for him, and he can defeat Seiya easily. Meanwhile, Misteltein still stands by. She feels something strange around her, and suddenly a dimensional gate reappears in front of her. Merrick suddenly emerges from the gate and strikes Misteltein. The forces are seen firing their guns towards Merrick. Misteltein uses her power against Merrick, but it seems to get stronger and fights her back. The bandaged man is seen watching the battle between Merrick and Misteltein, and is ready to give a blow. Just then, Uncle Ji appears and stops him. It turns out he is able to spare himself due to additional devices, causing him to be able to use his strength. As he questions the bandaged man of his intention, he sees Misteltein, who is chased by Merrick, and he rushes to save her. However, he cannot stay long as he gets hit by the bandaged man on his back. Yujung gives instructions so the forces can shoot Merrick with a piercing shell. After they shoot at Merrick's head, Uncle Ji launches his consecutive attacks on Merrick, and with the final blow, he can beat Merrick. However, he fell unconscious at the same time as Merrick fell down. Uncle Ji is immediately taken to the hospital to get treated. The all Blacklambs team who lost consciousness has gained their senses back. They ask Yujung to tell what happened and wonder if she has found out about the bandaged man's identity. However, Yujung cannot say anything about that. She is looking at Uncle Ji, who is lying helplessly with several pieces of equipment attached on his body. Thank you for faithfully watching content from this channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our content. See you in the next video.